This is a Rogue Media Network podcast. Central Texas Life with Ann Harder presents Central Texas Events.
Hey everybody, welcome to Central Texas Events, and we've got a big event coming up on the 8th of May. It'll be here before we know it, and it is at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, your Lone Star Luncheon. Bruce Gietzen here with us.
Yeah, how are you,
I'm
friend?
good. I'm
Yeah,
good. I
good.
mean, we're recording this right after a major thunderstorm, and so it's been a little interesting up here on the 21st floor. But you had to wait it out in your car till you could come up, but glad that
I wanted
you
to be
made it.
presentable because I knew you would be. You know.
Well, I've just been sitting here going, well, here we are. This building made it through the tornado. So
absolutely.
what's a thunderstorm? But yeah, we're good. We've got clear skies sailing ahead for this wonderful luncheon, because you have a very, they got a near and dear to your heart.
Yes.
Because it's Rudy Tomjonavich.
Rudy Tomjonavich, yes, who's the legendary head coach of the Houston Rockets for more than a decade and a player before that. And he created such a sense of pride in the city of Houston because his team won back-to-back NBA World Championships in 1994 and 95. And it was the first time that a Houston team had won that, created the moniker Clutch City for Houston. And just did things that no team had done in a long, long time, and it was a lot of fun to be a part of that.
Yeah, and so you were on the broadcast team.
I was
for the Houston Rockets at that. In fact, you should have brought your rings. He's got the championship rings.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, they're like massive,
and
amazing.
That was a lot of fun.
bet.
I was the studio host, kind of like what Ernie Johnson does for TNT, with Shaq and Kenny Smith and Charlie Barkley. But and we were the second team in the NBA to do the halftime studio show and the pregame show and the postgame show.
Oh, so it was kind of cutting edge.
Kind of cutting edge. Sacramento was the first and the Rockets were the second. It was kind of
Really?
interesting how it happened because our play-by-play guy and the team was in Detroit. This was in, I think, 1990, 1991, something like that. And the play-by-play guy had a sore throat and didn't know if he was going to be able to do the game. And so to make it easier on him, the general manager at the station said, let's try something different. Let's do a pregame show and a postgame show and a halftime from the studio to ease the burden on the crew that's courtside. And so he said, okay. This was before internet, and we didn't really have a lot to content saved up, but
Right.
we figured out how to do it. And so the story goes, we got through it, and the play-by-play guy got through it in the Pistons-Rockets game in Detroit. And the wife of the general manager of the station said, that looked really cool. I really like that. And so, of course, the next day, the general manager calls us, we're going to do that the rest of the year.
I
We
think
liked
we'll do
it.
this,
So,
yeah.
and it was a new revenue stream to sell advertising.
Oh, sure,
for
yes, sell commercials.
half-hour
and-
pregame and a
yeah.
half-hour postgame and stuff. And so it was a fun gig, and the Rockets were good. They had Akeem Olajuwon, and then later got Clyde Drexler, and after that got Charles Barkley. But
Wow.
those seasons, those 2 years when they won, were just exceptional. They came from behind. They had 8 in the playoffs in 94 and 95. This is an incredible statistic. They won 8 consecutive elimination games in the playoffs, where if they lost, they were done.
That was it, yeah.
And they kept winning and kept winning and kept winning.
And kept winning.
And won 2 world championships. They beat the hated New York Knicks in 1994. And the NBA, I think the NBA really wanted the Knicks to win. New York was the center of the basketball universe. And Pat Riley was the coach of the Knicks, and Patrick Ewing. And the Rockets came from 3-2 down, won the last 2 games in Houston to win that world championship. And a lot of people said it was not a very good series. I beg to differ. It was a defensive struggle.
Yeah.
No team scored 100 points
Oh, right.
in the 7 games.
And often it's way in the hundreds,
you had
yeah.
strong big men playing between Ewing and Olajuwon, and it was there were some close games and some buzzer beaters and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. And the Rockets won it then, and then they won it again in '95.
Yeah.
But the guy who was on the sideline is Rudy T, and he's coming in to be our next key guest for our Lone Star Luncheon series.
Yeah.
And Rudy's excited to be coming
Good.
in, and it continues a trend of, we had Lee Trevino and Roderick Clemens and Mean Joe Green and Vern Lundquist,
Yeah.
and now so we're bringing in some big names from sports into Waco for a chance for Waco sports fans to get a chance to hear the stories behind the scenes on how the two World Championships came about.
Of course, at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Again, this will be a lunchtime event on May 8th, Thursday, May 8th. What are the tickets? How do we get tickets?
Tickets, you can go to the Texas Sports Hall of Fame website, tshof.org/luncheon, and get tickets there. You can call them 756-1633 and get tickets. And we have some to sell, which tickets are $75. A table of 8 is $600. A premium table, which is up close, is $1,000, and that also gets you an autographed framed print, or autograph, shouldn't say framed, an autographed print of Rudy Tomjonavich for your memorabilia collection.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty good. It's an original artwork that we did. Robert Hurst, our museum artist, did in 2003 when Rudy T was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
So he is in the Hall of Fame. He's from Texas.
He's no.
Or he's
Rudy is from his lineage is Croatia, but he played in Michigan, University of Michigan. He's still the all-time career-leading rebounder for the University of Michigan.
Really? Okay.
He was the number 2 draft pick in the entire draft when he was drafted, and that was when the Rockets were in San Diego. And so the first year he was a pro, he was in San Diego, and the next year they moved to Houston, and he spent his entire playing career in Houston and most of his coaching career. He did have a stint toward the end where he succeeded Phil Jackson as coach of the Lakers, but and then he had a health problems. He had to step down. But Rudy was known as a player's coach.
Well, obviously, because he played.
Yep, he played, and he will have some fun stories, I'm sure, to tell about being a player's coach. And then he has promised me that he's going to talk about his right-hand man there, who was his assistant coach with the Rockets, and then later the GM of the Rockets, and a name many of us in Waco are familiar with, Carol Dawson.
Yeah.
And they were together for 16 years, and there's a really funny story about when Rudy took over as head coach and Carol's influence on him that, and so we'll get him to tell that story.
Yeah, he's beloved here in Waco for sure. So, to be in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, they don't have to be Texas born, but certainly brought great regard to the state.
Right.
Through their efforts.
The bylaws of the museum state, to be inducted, you have to either have been born in Texas or played a significant part of your career, your sports career in Texas, and Rudy T certainly did that. And I called him a couple months ago and said, hey, we'd love to have you come up and talk about your career and those 2 world championships in Clutch City, and his famous quote after the championships, which was, never underestimate the heart of a champion. Coming from behind, and from being 8 straight elimination games, and
that's a suitable for framing comment. Yeah,
he said, "I'd love to come up and visit, and can I talk about Carol?" I said, "Of course you can talk about Carol Dawson."
Yeah.
So,
also in the hall.
Yes, also. In fact, Carol Dawson is the only inductee out of 430 odd inductees in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. He's our only inductee who also served as the president of the board of trustees.
Yeah.
So he was, the museum was near and dear to Carol's heart, and we're grateful. And I think his wife, Sharon, is going to come up for this event to see Rudy and say hi to him. And it's just going to be a fun event. And, and going with our theme that we try to bring in some big names in sports who have some great stories, and it's a chance for Wacoans to rub, and Central Texans to rub elbows with sports legends.
Yeah, I mean, of course, he just set all kinds of records. I mean, really, as a player and obviously as a coach.
Yep, he was
as well for the Rockets.
He was the 4th leading scorer of all time in Rockets history, behind James Harden, Calvin Murphy, and Akeem Olajuwon.
Really?
And then Rudy was next. He was a 5-time All-Star and just a really solid player. A lot of people will remember him for an incident on the court when he was the victim of Kermit Washington's punch
Really?
on the court, and it's Rudy had severe injuries from that, almost lost his career, and it was a one-punch fight in a basketball game, and Rudy got blindsided and knocked him out cold.
In his head, or
yep, and hit him in the head and broke a lot of bones in his face and stuff.
Oh my gosh!
So, and that's what a lot of people remember Rudy most from that. Until those world championships, so it was a good bounce back. Yeah.
Well, and what a perfect spokesman you are for this, with your deep ties to the Houston Rockets, and to have been there, to see it happen.
Well, and the Rockets were the only team in the NBA besides the Chicago Bulls to win multiple championships in the 90s. And you know who the leader of the Chicago Bulls was? It was Michael Jordan.
Ah, well.
And then he took a year and a half off to chase a baseball career.
Yeah, I remember
and that's when
the
Rockets won their world championships. And, of course, there are a lot of people in town.
If you hadn't done that.
Including some Rockets fans, one who writes for the Waco Tribune-Herald, and so Bryce is a big Houston Rockets fan. But he gets grief a lot of times saying, well, the Rockets wouldn't have won those titles if Michael Jordan hadn't retired.
If he hadn't decided.
Well, I beg to differ. I side with Bryce on that. I think that the Bulls did not have a strong center who could stop Hakeem Olajuwon, and the Rockets also had a guy named Vernon Maxwell who gave Michael Jordan fits. And some trash talking, games within a game, and all that, and so. But and I think, and the Rockets and the Bulls, while Jordan was playing and in his prime, they split 18 games. And, Chicago had a winning record against almost every other team, but against the Rockets, Olajuwon and then later Drexler and the style of play inside out, and Hakeem they'd double team him, kick it out, and Rockets would have guys who could make 3-pointers. And so the matchups were good for it. And so it was a constant debate in Houston during those years. Yeah, we can beat everybody, including the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan. So, and they did it with 2 world championships.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh. Yeah. So haven't repeated that, I guess.
Well, some other teams have won back-to-backs. Yeah, and the Lakers.
But Houston has.
But Houston has not. Houston has not won another world championship since then. But they're alive in the playoffs now, and hoping for good things there. And I know Rudy's still a very active Rockets fan. He's created a foundation, the Rudy Tomjonavich Foundation, where he supplied college scholarships for young people, which is really
that's awesome.
Really a cool thing too. And Olajuwon is really involved with the team, and they're all fans. And of course, and Houston had a pretty good college basketball team this year too, with the Houston Cougars. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's
Hakeem
was part of Phi
town.
Slamma Jamma, and
Yeah.
Hakeem and Clyde Drexler and Michael Young and those guys. That was during the Southwest Conference days, and it was really fun watching Phi Slamma Jamma and Eddie Sutton's Arkansas Razorbacks, and just of course. And for those of you who don't know, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame has the Southwest Conference museum as well.
Yes,
the gallery, and so it's just I miss that conference. Not saying anything bad against the Big 12 or SEC anything, but I miss those rivalries.
It was a season that was really special.
And Hakeem was known for the Dream Shake, which was his patented step back, turn around, spin, step back, and jump shot, which was pretty much indefensible. And guess who he learned that move from? A guy named Carroll Dawson.
Oh.
So that's pretty cool, too. Carroll was a good big man coach. And so it was a lot of fun. It was a blessing to be able to be a part of that. The Rockets broadcast team for those years, up from 88 to 95.
Yeah.
Yes, and so and a lot of great memories. And boy, the city of Houston got behind the Rockets. In fact, they lost the first 2 games at home in 95. Went down 0-2 in the finals, and the Houston Chronicle had a headline that said "Choke City."
Oh no!
Because they and then Rockets turned around and won it, and they changed it to Clutch City.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Dang media,
I know. Always trying to be one step ahead, but no. This is this is great. So you're hoping to sell out. That would be awesome.
We want to have a good crowd, as we do for all these Lone Star Luncheons, and we want to have a nice big Waco welcome for Rudy.
So he lives in
Tomjonavich.
Houston
He
still?
lives in Houston still, and he's made his home in Houston and has stayed there after all those years. And we want to show him that a lot of Rockets fans in Houston. And we've had really good crowds for all those luncheons.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This is just kind of and we've got another big one coming up in August that we haven't publicly released the names on it yet.
You're not going
no,
to have a little breaking news here?
No, not going to do that.
Breaking
You'll have to
stories?
have me back on.
Tracking storms. We've been tracking the storm already.
and then we're working on a really fun one maybe in September, but that is so much in the development stages that I can't talk anymore
Okay.
about
Well,
that,
that's okay.
But the luncheons are fun, and we appreciate the support that Central Texans give the museum. These are fundraisers for the
Sure,
museum,
and
also
you got to
that
always
these
got to
legends,
raise money. Yeah.
These legends, every single one of these legends has waived their speaking fee. You know, to
Oh,
come and
that's
talk-
huge.
talk
Yeah,
to,
because normally
us,
that
yeah.
could be several $1,000s. You'd
Yeah.
have to try to underwrite, and
Right.
the whole idea is to keep things
help the museum.
going strong at the museum.
We are a jewel, the oldest state sports museum in the country.
Yeah.
Started in 1951, opened up here in Waco in the early 90s.
They've got
And-
moved here.
Moved here from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Lamar Hunt, a big driving force in that, as was Tom Landry, and also local businessmen to help get that going. And so it's just we're a crown jewel in the sports world. More than 430 inductees, and have an induction banquet every spring, and the voting starts for that.
I was going to say
in July. That's coming up.
That's coming up.
You-
That's coming up.
You can become a voting member. You can nominate anyone for the selection committee to consider, and then the selection committee is meeting I think May 30th, and they'll decide the 20 people on the regular ballot and the 10 people on the veterans ballot, and then voting members, which anyone can join and be a voting member for $50 or $100. There's two different levels, and you get free gifts and admissions and things like that. But you get to help decide who the next induction class will be,
And
and
they're
that's pretty
always
cool.
very impressive,
That's pretty cool.
and to hear their stories, that's what's so fun.
Yeah.
I've been able to come to several of these Lone Star Luncheons, haven't made them all. In fact, I missed the Vern Lundquist, and that's the one that I really,
He was so gracious. and
I've just
he
heard so
loved
many
being
good
there.
things
Yeah.
about his comments that day, but to be able to get all these behind-the-scenes stories you won't hear anywhere else
Right. And it's
from
just,
these sports greats.
and they really, for some of them, they came to the induction banquet, but it didn't really have a chance to look through the museum. And so for a lot of them, and Vern was this way, he actually took an hour to tour in there, and he saw memorabilia from his friend. He was good friends with Doak Walker.
Right.
And he saw Doak Walker. I bet I heard Vern say, "Oh my goodness gracious, look at this!"
Look at this.
10 times.
Yeah.
Walking through the museum, and they've all been that way, and they're all so proud and humbled to be inductees of the museum, and it's just they'll enjoy. Seeing one of the things we've got at the museum, if you haven't had a chance to be in the NBA exhibit, we've got Akeem and David Robinson, and I think maybe Clyde. He's on there, but on the floor we've got their actual width of their footsteps. Their stride. And so,
And you realize how big
and
these
the
guys
7-footers or 6'10", or
They're like
whatever,
from here to way over
and
there.
It really hits you when you put your feet on those footsteps and try to stretch out and match their footsteps. And like, how in the world could I stop one of those players from taking it to the basket or something? You know,
Really?
and so it's
well, yeah, and of course you were around these guys, and you know just what massive
Well-
humans they are. You know.
And it used to be a fun conversational debate, trivia question or whatever. Who are the best athletes out of all the professional
Right.
athletes?
Right.
And I think without question, it's NBA players.
Yeah.
They're so big and so fast and so quick and such great athletes, and it's a grueling schedule. Sometimes they play 4 games in 5 nights, whatever. And so those, I mean,
They're out there many minutes. You know. They're
stood next to Shaquille O'Neal, and he was the second biggest person that I had ever stood next to. Mark Eaton was the biggest, and he
Really?
was the Utah Jazz center. But and in fact, Akeem told me one time in an interview, I said, Akeem, who do you not look forward to playing against on the team? And he said, there's nobody I don't look forward to. I love playing the game. And I said, okay, let me rephrase the question.
That's right. Yeah.
I said, who's the hardest person for you to play against? And he said, Shaquille
Really?
O'Neal, because he's so big. And Olajuwon was like a cheetah. He was 6'10" and 3/4 and built and not slender, but really built fast and quick and all that. And Shaq is just girth. And, and Akeem said it'd take me 3 or 4 days to recover after banging bodies against Shaquille in the lane, during a game and stuff. And and that probably is why he had the dream shake, to turn and spin and step back and hit the jumper and not have to go in there and bang. But
something quick and
Akeem
unexpected.
loved to block shots, and in the one of the deciding games in the Knicks series, the NBA Finals in 1994, the Rockets were up by 2, and John Starks from the Knicks tried to shoot a 3-pointer to win it at the buzzer, but his shot was blocked by, of all people in the corner, Akeem Olajuwon, who came all the way out from the paint out to the corner and reached up and got a piece of that shot by John Starks, and just showed you how good an athlete Olajuwon was. I think Rudy will say he was the best ever. Yeah. We'll see, but I bet we'll have a Q&A session toward the end of the luncheon where fans can ask, and I'm hoping a fan will ask him who was better, Michael Jordan or Akeem Olajuwon. Yeah. If I don't ask him first.
If you don't ask him first, well, I can tell this is going to be a fun stroll down memory lane for you.
Absolutely.
And you are a gem as well.
Thank you
Certainly
so much.
for the Sports Hall of Fame.
It's very sweet of you.
And all that you've done to keep that facility, that tremendous museum, strong, and to contact these amazing sports figures to come and share them, share their lives and their stories.
It's so much
with
fun,
Central Texas.
and it's always heartwarming to call a Roger Clemens or a Lee Trevino or the guys come, and say, "Would you mind coming and helping the museum and speak?" And them saying, "I'd love to do that."
Oh.
And the ones who say no, often it's because they can't help it.
Their schedule, or
their schedule's tough or something like that. But keep me on the list, they say. And so it's just.
You go, okay, I'll call you.
I will. I'll keep calling. It's a very elite group.
Yeah.
And special, and at the induction banquet, if you've never been to that, it's really cool to see how gracious and humbled the inductees are, and how honored they are to be a part of that group. I mean, and you got.
It's impressive.
Michael Strahan stopped in Waco on his flight from New York to L.A. to see his family after doing the NFL broadcasts, and he said, "No, I'm not going to miss this." Oh. And his plane sit down in Waco, and he rushed over and got inducted and everything, and spent very gracious interviews and pictures and
then ABC did all kinds of stuff on him too.
And then they did, and it's good for Waco.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No question. To have the museum here, and it's just a source of pride for the board of trustees and our staff. We have a wonderful staff.
Yeah.
And then the sports fans in Central Texas.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's another gift for them. And so, again, you can call Texas Sports Hall of Fame to get tickets. Go ahead and do it now. Because
Thursday, May 8th, lunch will be served about 11:30. The program will start about noon. And then we'll have question and answer at the end. Sponsors can get their pictures taken. You might get a chance to shake hands with Rudy. Too, and then we'll be done by 1:15 or so. And people
tickets available at the door?
We prefer to know beforehand because we have to do catering.
Because of food,
we have to get
and the food is
food.
Always amazing.
Yeah, and
very good.
and it's again, it's $75 for a single ticket, which is, it's a memorable.
I was going to say
once in a lifetime thing.
That's very inexpensive.
And a chance to do that and be with the sports legend, and then I promise you it's going to be some great stories. Rudy called me last week, and he says, "What do you want me to talk about?" I said, "Well, we'll talk about your playing career, and we'll talk about the
you got plenty to talk about."
And he said, "Well, just send me a list of what you can ask me so I can remember all the good stories." I said, "That sounds wonderful."
Yeah, he does have a lot of stories. I know.
That'd be good. But thank you for having me on.
Always,
thank you for all you do.
The door's always open, as you know.
We had fun, didn't we?
Yeah.
16 years, yeah. That's great.
Yeah, and more fun ahead.
Okay.
But thanks for being with us, and we'll see you at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame Lone Star Luncheon on Thursday, May 8th. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Ann.
Yeah, bye-bye.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. This has been a Rogue Media Network production.